This is an introduction to iSAMS, a 100% browser-based management information system for independent schools. This guide is going to take us through some of the core functions of the system, focusing on a child's life throughout the system. The first thing that we will run through is the main interface of the product. iSAMS is a 100% browser-based interface, so the whole system is accessed via an internet page. Where the product is different to a large number of the other available products on the market is that we do only have one interface. A lot of the other products focus on a client-based application with a web front end for teaching staff, but this approach means that in essence staff are using two systems, a client-based application in school and then a web-based application from home that looks completely different and will only give them access to some areas of the system. With iSAMS, you simply have one system with full access to the whole database, regardless of where you are logging in from, with no requirement to download any software. Although the system is browser-based, the system itself can be hosted locally within a school. In that scenario, you're only using the internet to access the system when you're logging in outside of the school network. This is a demonstration system that I'm using here today, the Peter Rabbit School, where I'm logged in as an administrator with full access to the whole database. As we follow through this guide, I'll explain at certain times this full access that I'm seeing here would not be available to your teachers. The starting point of the system, to explain the structure, what we have tried to design is an interface that is very, very simple for staff to use, requires a very, very small amount of training. The system is constructed into three main components. The first one being this desktop screen that we're looking at now, which can be customized depending on who you are as a user. The idea of the desktop interface is just simply to present a quick bit of information to the user, relevant content of what is happening around the school today. As a teacher, I would usually be given a full view of today and tomorrow's timetable. As this guide is being produced on a weekend, we don't have any timetable lessons for Saturday or Sunday. Usually I'd have a simple guide as to the lessons that I was teaching for the day and interaction tools that would allow me to send emails to my classes, send them text messages, and also produce a list very, very quickly with photos of who was sat in front of me right now. Other feeds bring me electronic notices, access to a school calendar, information on whether or not we have any pupils in detention, a quick link to our registration system to show who's absent, currently out of school, and an off-games facility. On the right-hand panel here I have a breakdown of the school year groups that I belong to, the school divisions, some useful statistic reports that I can run about the current intake, and a really simple but effective who's online facility, a list of my colleagues who are logged into the database. I choose the person I want to interact with and we can communicate directly through iSAMS. On the left-hand side I then have the second area of functionality, a navigation panel that can be opened and collapsed. Broken down into all of these different key categories, these are the different modules that you can own and run from within the system. iSAMS is a modular-based system, so you can pick and choose the level of functionality that you require as a school. As I mentioned very briefly at the outset there, it would be a very, very different view for your teachers logging into the system. Predominantly, this area of the system is only accessed by what we refer to as your key stakeholders. So somebody who has a particular responsibility, they would own and run certain areas of the system, and there's no requirement for anybody else to see those modules or have access to them. Teachers are really only using this area if they are looking at their school email accounts within our framework. iSAMS can link into your email server in order for you to send communications to pupils, to their contacts, and to staff member, all fully logged but traveling through your own email system. An ability for you to have access to shared network drives, files and folders wherever you are. They would also have access to the teaching and management teaching and exams modules to allow us to view and enter data into mark books, look at tracking information, and we'd also be given the functionality to write reports for midterm grade cards, for end of term reports. Outside of those few core modules, there wouldn't be a requirement for teachers to use this area of the system. The key stakeholders The obvious examples are the exams manager, only accessed by the exams officer or anybody who needs the ability to actually manage exams. The timetabler would have access to the timetable module, maybe also responsibility for managing staff cover. The school office will manage the administration modules, so the admissions process, managing current and former pupils. Again, nobody else would be given access to these modules. The final layer of functionality is then over here on the right hand side, another navigation panel. This time what we refer to in iSAMS as the wizard bar. What we have here is a series of really simple yet intuitive tasks allowing teachers to very, very quickly interact with the database, hopefully with very little or no training. The wizard tasks are designed to cater for probably around 90% of a teacher's day-to-day access, making the system extremely accessible. A few of the examples to complete the whole concept of what I'm trying to describe here. We don't have access to the timetable module unless we're the timetabler, but instead under my wizard routines I'm still going to need some access to that information. And here I've got routines to get student, teacher, room, department timetables and so on, even get information on staff cover. I choose the wizard routine, it loads the wizard, and then I follow the instructions. I type to select a student, it filters as I type. The default is always just show me, so within 3 clicks we have David's timetable. If we were on a current day of the timetable it would appear in blue. The current period is highlighted then in orange to pinpoint exactly where a person is at any one time. Activities, if they are scheduled in our activities management module, it highlights at the top of the timetable to show me that they're there. They are then displayed at the bottom of the timetable so I can get full access to when this child is taking part in music lessons, sports, or any extracurricular activities. If I require that timetable in a nicer format, I always have the options of an HTML view, Excel, PDF. I can even email those to myself or someone else as attached documents. Very quickly, really simple tasks like finding free staff, free rooms, and free pupils, either based on the period, where I need something to be available, or based on the object when I know what it is that I'm looking for. And very, very quickly, I can get all of the information that I need from the timetable module with no knowledge of how the timetable module actually works. I can get contact information, so I don't need to be trained on the main admin system. A student quick view details wizard quickly allows me access into the database for information on the children within the school and a read-only view of their contact information. Hyperlinks for sending communications, clipboards for copying addresses to write letters, and full information on pupils' attendance. I have the ability to get lists, set lists, form lists, house lists, year group lists. So again, extremely useful and simple tasks for a teacher to carry out themselves, choosing the data they wish to produce, the order they want it formatted in, and then finally the view as to how they want to receive that information. Very, very simple, very, very quick and effective. There's further routines for looking at exams information. The model is the same everywhere, so I don't have the exams module, but I still can view entries, edit forecast grades and coursework marks, view timetables and results. I can take a register. I can assign pupils as being out of school. I can find information on who is currently in and out of school very, very quickly. I can add events to calendars. I can create bulletin entries. I can create news articles that would potentially appear on the school website. The system is structured to run as a single point of entry for all communications, but then these can be published to multiple locations. I fill out again a simple wizard. I enter information. Details on where I want this to appear can then very, very easily be configured, creating a news article once, but publishing to our student portal, our parent portal, publishing it out onto your school's own website, even displaying the information via a digital signage network. We can add pupils into a detention. We can give positive, negative behaviour awards. All of the daily tasks that a teacher will want to carry out are available within these wizard routines. They're very, very flexible, fully configurable. iSAMS isn't a one-size-fits-all system. As we're working with independent schools, there needs to be a huge element of flexibility in the product. Fully customizable in many of the areas, using your own terminology, What do you want your behaviour system to look like? The top level category types, subcategories with point values, and then building in your own routines around which of those would need to be authorised before they can appear against the child's record. Authorisation is delivered via an email communication where we email the owner of the area of this system telling them that the child's been given a penalty and is that okay. They can authorise it directly through the email. On authorisation, who do we need to tell about that? It will start to email relevant communication to people across the system that are relevant to this child, all fully configurable by the school directly in the front end of the system. As well as having this interface for staff, say at the beginning this is the only interface that we have, we can access all of this information from anywhere. We also have mobile devices. So the ability for a teacher to be able to log in, receive electronic communications, calendar information, information on people who are absent and registered within the school, the ability to be able to take a register on a mobile device and gets a lot more information about what's happening with those children in the school. A full communication system again will allow us to email and text pupils, their contacts and staff members. Now we'll look to focus on the child's life within the system. The starting point is our admissions module. When we open a module within iSAMS, all of the information is available in the screen in front of us. You'll start to see a very common theme of a module being opened and then a tabbed-based functionality system giving us access to all of the information that we need within that module. The starting point is our inquiry page, which is where we would go to enter a people who is registering for the system manually. We also have an online inquiry form, so there's the ability to tag your own custom form into a website. The parents visit the site, enter this information that we're capturing here. It comes into a holding area within the system, and then we can automatically create an applicant without having to enter this information again. The ability for parents to register for visits and events, pay deposits online is all available. The manual process, however, is very, very simple. We enter the child's information. We can tab through rather than using the mouse. Duplication, capitalization is done for us. It spots there's possible duplicates within the system. If this poppy is already in the same poppy that I've got in the database, I click on her name there and it takes me off into a record. I don't need to go somewhere else to search for her. We start to enter the admission details, the year on entry, the term on entry, the boarding, the pupil status. Are they going to be a day pupil? Do we have boarding at our school? And then the admission status, your own bespoke steps and stages and hoops that the parents and pupils will need to jump through in order to join the school. We can link them to their current school. We have another schools module which will then show us detailed analysis on where our pupils are coming from. We can start to create our own custom fields around inquiry methods, inquiry reasons. In the background, as we'll look at later on, iSAMS then provides detailed analysis on the conversion rates for all of these. We add who's making the inquiry, information about the parents, their professions, telephone numbers, email addresses and contact details. A very, very simple form to fill out. We can even link people to agencies, maybe if we're getting assistance in bringing pupils to the school, what fees are due to them, and we can create our own marketing campaigns. How long is the campaign going to run? Who are we attracting? What were the costs? What do we expect the return to be? And then we have the ability to analyse how successful those campaigns are. Once the pupils are entered into the system, they're available within our applicant database, a full searchable record of every pupil within the system. The individual child records broken down by tabs of information across the top, where we're holding contact information, a family tree, the structure of the family, relationships, links with other pupils in the schools, so contact information can be shared. Update one record, it updates the others. Information on what visits this child may have been on. A comprehensive visit system, open days, interviews, visits. Do you want to take a register so you know the parents have arrived? Is feedback going to be required? We can also create an itinerary, maybe to have a presentation in the hall, then a tour of the school, and then an interview. you can create your own structure for these different visit itineraries. We can record and hold deposit information, what deposits have been paid, when should they be returned, who were they paid by. An archive section. If a child is unsuccessful, they're rejected by the school, or they withdraw from the process. Again, fully customizable reasons in which we can then analyze and find out conversion rates. If they aren't joining our school, where are these people going? A note system. We can create our own categorized notes to record any information we want about the applicants and their parents or guardians. Information on their educational history, the school they go to, previous schools they've been to, an area for recording competition, which other schools are they talking to. A full exams management system, allow us to manage our entrance exams, manage and create entries, produce timetables, and then record and analyze the results. Information on any scholarships or awards the parents and the child have registered for, are interested in, or have been awarded. The ability to record visa, passport information, transport details. How will they come to school? Do they require to be screened for SEN, and recording that information? A full communication history. From iSAMS we can directly send emails, letters, texts, record phone conversations. Every time we do that within the system, it's automatically linked back to the child's record. Letters, email, text, telephone calls, information on what has been sent to the child, a quick on-screen view of that data, and the ability to replicate everything again as a Word document. We export and link directly into Word, Excel, PDF, on-screen views as we've seen available. We can upload documents and files. Very, very flexible. We can upload any document that we like. Letters from parents, scanned copies of identity documents. We upload the document and then we create our own document categories. So when we come into this area, we can find easily the information that we need. Lots of very, very simple tools to navigate our way around the system. A full list of all of the pupils that I've just searched for here, giving me the ability to quickly jump from one child's record to the next. If I'm reviewing information and I want to stay on the same area of the system each time, I can tell iSAMS to do that, which makes for the very, very quick review of data, the ability to edit information very, very quickly. Outside of the child's record, we then have some mass communication tools, some mass administration tools for bulk editing, updating of data. The system is very, very intuitive. Everything is done in the same three-stage process. We have a search engine which allows us to filter across the whole school, filter by gender, by admissions year, by admission status, to find where pupils sit within the system. We have a marketing search. We can search for everybody who's visited the school within a time frame, or find specific visits that have already taken place to get those same pupils again. Find people who have registered for the school because they've seen a particular advert. We can create our own custom groups to find the same people again and again very quickly. A combination of year groups, houses, admission statuses. We can search the database for any field and a string of fields that we want to hit a match on. Once we've carried out a search, we get our search results back, information on the pupils. We have a readmission system. iSAMS will allow you to be an applicant and a current pupil within the single database. Very, very useful for 3 to 18 schools where you need to reapply to move from maybe the prep school up to the senior school. We will let you know this child already exists within the database and where they sit within the school. We select the individual pupils or everybody together who we want to interact with, remove anybody that we don't require from our list, and then from this action drop down we have tools to mass edit data. We have the ability to export records out to an Excel spreadsheet to produce basic reports. We can create letters where we have the standard letters we use on a regular basis entered into the database. We can select the letter for offers, inviting people for open days, visits, interviews, and it will just very, very quickly create documents for us. We can create new letters on the fly. We can produce reference letters. We know from the pupils we've selected how many schools they go to, which those schools are, and then we'll produce one letter per school with a list of the pupils we require references for. We can produce address labels and badges. We can create mass candidates who are going to take our entrance exams, invite people to interviews and visits, add them to custom groups, create emails and text messages. A very, very simple process for us to analyze where the pupils are coming from, who are the top feeder schools, who are the pupils that we have in the admission system from Garden House School, and where do they sit within the system. The ability to create visits, our own custom visits, manage our marketing campaigns so we can see how successful they are. The ability to manage the communication history as a whole. So rather than looking at an individual child's communication, what letters and emails are the admissions team currently sending out from the system and to who? We can then analyze the data. So break down graphs of the past daily average, the number of inquiries coming through, the latest inquiries, what interviews, events, open days do we have in the coming days, analysing the data so we can see where the pupils are coming from. We can start to get a feel as to how we're doing in comparison to previous years. So how many inquiries have we got? Which schools are they coming from? What type of pupils are they going to be? Split by gender and by admissions years. An inquiry timeline with graphical analysis, monthly totals, then cumulative throughout the year, comparing to previous years. We can then start to view comparison and conversion rates based on the feeder schools, based on how and why people are inquiring to come to the school. So based on the particular inquiry method, how many inquiries did we have? How many pupils then visited? How many registered? How many offers were made? Withdrawals, refusals? How many accepted? Where are the pupils going if they aren't coming to our school? There's then a very, very simple rollover process in order for us to make the applicants current pupils. Once they come into the database, we are then using the student management module, looking at current pupils and potentially former pupils in the future. A pupil only exists once within the database, so regardless of where we're searching, we can include applicants and past pupils so we can see the full record of a child in any area of the system. Very, very quickly, you'll see here the student management system now is almost identical to our search engine within the admissions module. If you can use one, you can use the other. It's just our search criteria has changed slightly because now they're in the school. We now have an academic search option. We can filter by teaching groups, by sets and forms. They're going to be in activity groups, so we can very, very quickly find pupils based on what activities they do. Again, once we've carried out a search, we have a child record. Slightly different data fields again as they are now in school, but otherwise there's a very similar commonality between the two modules. We have the same mass routines for creating letters, producing reports, custom reports, communications. Now that we've got the child in school, we're going to want the ability to put them into teaching groups. We do, though, have the ability to manage the process of putting admissions pupils into teaching groups and giving them timetables. Both the timetable module and the teaching manager module, which is your curriculum database, work on the concept of having a current academic year and also a development academic year. Within the development academic year, we're simply telling the system which applicants we want to be able to see from those custom statuses. So far in advance of a pupil being made current, we can put them into teaching groups and give them timetables. We don't have a scheduling system of our own, but instead we import from a number of third-party products. A number of schools that we've moved away from Capital will tend to keep the Nova product. So we have the ability to import from Nova T4 and T6 Keith Johnson's is one of the most widely used products in independent schools, and there are a number of other products used mainly by our international schools that we can import from, as well as importing directly from an Excel spreadsheet. The routine is that the initial structure timetable is created externally, is imported into iSAMS to create the timetables within our timetable module. It then links through into our curriculum database to create our curriculum structure, all of our form and set groups, for us to then populate with pupils. Again, a very, very simple import facility enabling us to bring pupils into those teaching groups. iSAMS, though, will manage then the manipulation and day-to-day running of the timetable. Very, very flexible and powerful system will allow you to have multiple timetables. So for a 3 to 18 structure, we could have a 1-week timetable for the prep school, a 1 week for the junior school, and then a 2-week timetable for the senior school, all with different numbers of periods and times. We have the ability then to manage staff meetings on our timetables, create pupil tutorials, very effective for sixth form studies, manage whole year scheduling in one go. We can detect clashes. We can run a missing detector to find if pupils have anything missing from their timetables. And then we have a full editable view of all of the timetable structures within the system. The ability to add new things to a staff member's timetable, the ability to edit things, the ability to delete and remove, the ability to communicate with the teaching groups by email and SMS to let them know if something has changed. Useful routines to try and avoid us from generating clashes. If I wanted to change the room, it's letting me know when the other rooms that I might need are already allocated. The flexibility is there for us to generate a clash if we need to, but it will give us that first stage warning. We can fully customize how timetables are viewed by different people. How will staff see their timetables within iSAMS? How will it be presented to pupils online or parents via our parent portal? Useful timetable tasks will allow us to reallocate whole timetables. If a member of staff is on long-term sick leave or maybe maternity cover, we can reallocate a whole timetable. We can then start to reallocate sets based on what that staff member does, their sets, and who do we want to give that to. The teaching management module, top level overview of your own curriculum structure, the departments, the subjects within those, the head of department, head of subject, the teachers who are associated to them, and then a full breakdown of all the teaching groups within that subject. Set sizes, we have the ability to create rules as to how many pupils could belong to these sets. We don't put too many pupils in a particular group. We can print these lists, we can export them, we can start to edit the group lists. We can see the pupils who belong to this group. We can add new pupils, we can remove them. As well as having this top level subject view for mass data entry, we then have an individual student view. So we can get a picture of what a student is doing. Again, we have tools to remove them from groups or move them. We can associate subjects together. So when we are moving a child from one group, it will move them from other groups at the same time. When we're making changes to the database, who do we want to tell? You configure your own email templates and settings. When a child moves, do we want to email the old teacher and the new teacher? Are we going to let the pupil know? Housemaster, housemistress, and so on. Very, very customizable in terms of the communications that it will send. While we're looking at managing timetable, linked in with that, we have a cover module. The ability to obviously cover staff members when they're away from school. The system is very, very flexible. Again, it will allow you to have a cover rota where you can determine who are your primary cover staff members for every period of the day, or otherwise we have a fully configurable system allowing us to provide a list of available staff but weighted based on who we think you're most likely to want to choose. Within that list, we will put the person at the top who we think is most likely to be used for that cover. That list can be ordered based around how much cover people have already done. The more you do, the further down the list you go until eventually you've done enough and maybe you're suspended from cover for the term. If you haven't done any yet, you're going to start to creep up the list. We can also create a weighting structure based around whether or not somebody teaches in the same department, whether or not they teach the same subject, you're more likely to want to use them. Are you going to allow cross-division cover, or can only staff in the senior school cover the senior school classes? It works on a calendar-based system. We can manage advanced cover when we know somebody's away on a school trip. That can be entered. We just do the emergency cover on the day. We simply add an absence. We choose the member of staff who's going to be away, or a combination of staff for the same reason. Why are they away? Your own customizable reasons. The time frame, date range, and then time frame either by period or by time. Save and add if there's more staff away for a different reason. Save and close if that's our only problem. It goes and finds the person's timetable, and it shows us what lessons we need to cover. We click the period to allocate cover. Our cover rota will show first if that's configured. We can then see who's free. We can see, is there anybody available who teaches the same subject in the same department? Is there somebody already teaching, somebody already scheduled, but we might want to use them anyway? It shows us our list of available staff. How many lessons are they teaching today? How many free periods have they got? Their timetable loads so we can see how busy they are. It will also show us how many covers they're doing today, this week, this month, this cycle, which may be an entire term, with the counts. A cover history. I can see that Bob's score has already covered twice this term. What is it that he's covered? If he's covered this lesson before, I'm more likely to want to give it to him again. I choose the person that I want. I can add information about the cover. I can change the room. I can add notes. When I'm happy, save cover and next, and it jumps me immediately onto the next problem to work my way through. Once I'm finished, I publish cover for today. Again, we configure our own email templates, messages for reasons for cover. We can email the covered and the covering teachers. We can text them. We can produce a printout to go into their pigeonhole. We then publish cover for today. We produce a report that gets published to the wizard bar. We can generate a feed to be published elsewhere so staff can get that information. And on our front timetable screen, period blocks shown in green if we're being covered, and red if we're covering for somebody else. We'll come back to our child now, who we are now in school. We now have timetabled lessons. We're going to want to start interacting with the pupils. One of the first things that teachers will do at the beginning of a day is take a register. Registration system will allow you to register pupils in many number of ways, in sets, in forms, in houses, in tutor groups, in boarding houses. You configure your own rules. We can take lesson registration, lesson by lesson, AM and PM. We have the ability to take this as well on a mobile device. A teacher wouldn't need to choose a registration period. We're outside of our registration times here. We'd simply click the take a register button, and then it would produce us a list of the pupils that we need to register. A really, really simple interface, again, fully customizable. Pupils down the left-hand side with photos, nationality flags, medical information appears throughout the database, important notes the teacher needs to know about, learning support information, a name and preferred name. Our out-of-school system that's active here is telling me immediately that Janet Airy isn't going to be arriving today. She is currently out of school. If I hover over the out-of-school icon there, it will let me know where she is. A previous registration colour-coded history tells me whether or not these children were here for the last period, or were they here yesterday, were they registered absent, were they late. My registration markers, again, fully customizable. If a child isn't here, we have the ability to send an immediate alert to notify somebody that the child hasn't arrived. We have access to the codes. Your own customizable registration codes are available, or that may be deemed to be a school office task. We can add a note to a register. We can enter information on when a child needs to leave early. We can register somebody's late. We can register why somebody is present, our own unique codes. We also have cheats of all present all the way to make it very, very simple for a staff member to take a register. Everybody's here. Because I've already started taking the register, it won't just overwrite what I've done. It's giving me a warning. I can register everybody present and then deal with the one person or two people who haven't arrived. A really effective note system flashing when I first came into the register, notifying me there's a message for somebody within my group. I find the message and it tells me the pupils that the information needs to be passed on to. A very, very simple and effective way of passing important information around the school via a register. Once the register has been taken, within the management module, the owner of the registration module, who would have configured the times and the rules for the registrations to happen, will then check on the registration to see who's absent, who's present, who's away. This view will present to me a list of the pupils who are absent as being the most important, but I can find out who is present. I can also look at who's not yet registered and chase those members of staff up to take their registers. The pupils who are away, I can look at their timetables, I can look at their contact information, so I can quickly reach the parents to find out why Hamish hasn't arrived today. If he turns up in school, he's given the correct registration code, marked as present or late. If I can't reach the parents or I want to put the emphasis on them to contact me, we can send parent notifications via pre-configured email and text messages. The text messages can then be responded to. We have a full reporting system allowing us to do detailed analysis, individual pupil certification, whole group analysis, specific registration code analysis, the ability to search across any date range that I like, looking at specific times or all times, filtering for the students I'm interested in, including ranges of percentages or counts, and then finally the format that I want my report to be produced in, as well as these hard-coded reports that we have created, as with everywhere else in the system, the ability to create and upload your own custom reports of the information that you need. A report scheduling system is available via SQL Server reporting services, the engine we use for our reports, where we can start to send via an email relevant communication. We don't even need to run the reports, we just send the reports that we require to relevant members of staff. As well as registering people for lessons, we also have an activities management system. Pupils are going to be taking activities outside of their normal classroom activities, sports, music, extracurricular, school trips. The ability to create your own structure of the groups. We can timetable events. We can take registers for them. We can write reports for them. We can allow staff to export the lists and groups of quick communications. We can create events, a match against a team down the road, record sporting results, and publish this information online to parents. We create our own modules of activity. We then have the ability to take registers for the group so we can see who has arrived. If it's a chargeable activity, we can report on this information so that we can charge the parents for these activities. We create our own structure of the groups, the staff members and the pupils associated to these. The ability to quickly add new pupils to the groups. Create a schedule for how many activities there will be within this group, the time frame that they take place. A very, very simple routine when there's a regular schedule to create recurring events that get timetabled, as we've seen earlier when looking at a child's timetable, or quick one-off events. The ability to create matches and events with the team picker. We create our own structure of teams. You tell iSAMS how many pupils you need for a football team, a netball team, a hockey team, and then a full functional drag and drop facility for creating the A team, the B team, and so on. and publishing and making this information available online. We have the communication tools available as well. So once we have the grouping structures and the pupils added to the groups that we're using, we have the ability to communicate with them via email and text messages. They're also included within our search engine in the student management module, where we now also have the ability to quickly run reports about these pupils, again find important medical information if we're taking these pupils off-site, the ability to write letters, request consent online via our parent portal. We're going to want to record behaviour for our pupils. Our rewards and conduct module, fully customisable. These example behaviour categories are just examples we've built into our test Peter Rabbit School. You configure and create your top level behaviour types, any subcategories, any point values that need to be associated to them. For each behaviour type, we create rules around: does it require authorization? Who can enter them? How much information can be entered? What notifications do we want to use when something is authorized? Do we want to tell the parents? Do we want to publish this information for this specific category online? Staff members then use the wizard routines to very, very quickly enter data. Depending on how the module is being configured will determine what they see. My head's commendation can only be given to one child at a time. I type their name very, very quickly, record any comments, and that's now available within the database against the child's record. My penalty has a slightly different structure in that I've allowed the teacher to now give this behaviour type to multiple pupils in one go. It tells me it requires authorization. It tells me who this information is going to be made available to. I choose that I want to give it to multiple pupils. Is it for a form? Is it for a set? Is it for a year group? Is it for a house? Whenever we're looking at set information, there's obviously lots and lots of teaching groups available within the system. We have this cheat of show my sets, show my information. It just returns the groups that are relevant to you. But very, very quickly, a staff member can choose a whole group. If all of these pupils were defacing their exercise books, it's more likely we're giving a credit for a good piece of coursework. We can apply that category to everybody, but then they only receive it when we put the credit next to their name. But in the same way, within this same category, I can give David 5 of these. He can also have a penalty for eating in class. And then I record any comments. This information is then fed back to the management module. We get a full breakdown of everything that's coming into the system. Who's the top performing pupil, house, gender, year group, individual pupil breakdowns. We can start to go into the individual categories to get a view of what's happening. And then we have a full reporting system allowing us to analyze exactly what's going on. Broken down by all types or individual categories, by department, by teacher. Who gives the most, who gives the least? How do we want that report ordered? And then again, finally, what format do we want to receive that information in? A detention system works in a very similar way. We create the detentions, who takes them, where they take place, the type of detention. The staff member follows the wizard. It shows me the detentions available. If they're already in detention, it forces me to choose another one. I simply record the offence description, any work that's being set, the type of detention. Again, authorization may be required at this stage. We can produce detention slips. Do we want to tell the parents? Pupils will be taking exams within the system. We have an exams management system for both internal exams and external exams for A-levels and GCSEs. The ability to create your own base data for managing IB. The workflow and structure, again, as we've seen throughout the database, follows a rule of a tab-based interface. In this example, representing the rough workflow of an exam cycle. We import our base data into the system from the different exam boards that we work with. We then manage our candidates. We import candidates year on year. It gives them a candidate number, a UCI number. We format their candidate names. We choose the candidate number starting point, how many we may want to increment by, so everything stays alphabetical. We can import unique learning numbers. We can manage the pupils' arrangements. Do they have extra time? Do they get rest breaks? Any notes? This can be managed directly in the exams module or in our learning support module, where the data will automatically feed through into here. A reporting system for arrangements, candidate numbers, and producing labels. Student breakdown of managing internal candidates, pupils in school now. Private candidates if we have anyone using the school as an exam centre. And then past candidates for those pupils coming back to take retakes. We manage our entries, either at this top level program view, which is the default. I choose to edit a maths exam. It links automatically to our curriculum database to find those pupils who are taking maths and all of the maths sets, putting through all of the components of the exams together, allowing for simple maths entry to those exams. We also have an individual candidate view. So for any changes, any amendments, we can see the child's current entries, we can remove them from exams, we can make additional entries. We generate the EDI files. Entry reports and program reports with our own custom text asking for information to be checked, available in a number of different formats. My on-screen view showing me a full list report of all of the pupils, what they're entered for with their details. A similar way of producing reports for charges, exam fees. Forecast grades and coursework marks are then managed in a very, very similar way. The pupils, the drop-down lists of the grades, either at the top level program view or again in individual candidate view. As I mentioned earlier, right at the very beginning, the interaction from teachers, they obviously don't have access into our exams management module. They can still view the entries. Maybe they can edit the forecast grades and coursework marks, which feed directly into here. They can view timetables and results once they've been published. We then manage our timetables, which can all be published online, our program timetables, our individual candidate timetables, where we can make changes. Once we've created our seating plans, the locations and their seat numbers, the full exam cycle calendar, a day, week and a month view, where we can see exactly what is happening within the school, an editable view to make changes to the exam times en masse rather than individually. We configure the rooms that we want to use for exams. What's the format, the numbering, how big are the rooms, how many seats are available. Again, fully customizable. How many rows? Do you want the arrangement to be snaked, columned? Where do you want to start? We then choose our exam. We choose our room and our seating plan is generated, showing us the candidate's details, their images, their arrangements, a color coding system for the exams that the pupils will be taking. Again, we have a drag and drop facility. Let's move all of the extra timers furthest away from the door so they aren't disturbed when everyone else leaves. These can then be produced in Word, Excel, PDF format. We can produce reports, candidate timetables. These can also be published online for parents and students to view, invigilator printouts, desk labels and a clash listings report to spot any concerns and errors. We then get our results file. It comes into the database, we upload the results. It's only available for the exams officer or anyone with access to this module to view. The publishing of the results is a 1-minute job. We log in the morning from anywhere. We go to our results file history. We click the publish button and we send the results to teachers via our wizard bar, to students and parents via our portals, and we notify them that they've been sent. We can view candidate results, option results. We have a routine for editing results. So if we do have a remark, if something changes, we have the ability to view those child's results, and it lets us know with a plus icon that a change has been made, what it was changed from and to, who did it, when they did it. Grading matrices and reports to get analysis on all of this data in the exam system. A very, very similar module is the internal exam system. The only difference is you are creating your own base data. We then want to start assessing the pupils. We've got the ability to create mark books where teachers create their own individual mark books to capture any information they want about the pupils. We can also create then a global mark book created by head of department, head of subject for their staff to fill out. When they view the mark book, they can see all of the staff members together and compare and contrast. But when the teacher's logging in, they just see the pupils that they're responsible for. We create a mark book. iSAMS will ask us for the pupils that we want, a form, a set, a house, year group. We get the pupils back, and then we create the columns of data where we want to record information. A wizard-based system allows us to select what data these cells will hold, numeric marks with upper and lower limits, predetermined grade sets, custom values, calculated columns, past test information. Again, all wizard-based. We follow the process, and very, very quickly we can start to create these mark books, creating custom formula or using our standard routines of average, minimum, max, median, rank, or custom calculations. We enter information by editing the mark book. We can apply date ranges as to when the mark book can be changed if we want to. A traffic lighting system that's fully configurable will allow us to view who's above or below target. The ability to export this information to a spreadsheet, or the ability to export and link into our reports module. Another example where we're looking at GCSE rehearsals here for science exams. A mark book has been configured where all the teacher needs to enter is a raw test score. The calculated column works out what was the percentage from the total available, and then we have a transposing value to immediately turn just that raw data into a grade. Again, through our filtering system, we can remove the noise, just show us the overall grades. Once we've carried out our calculation, maybe we need that information within our report system. We choose our reporting cycle. We choose the teaching groups that it's relevant to. It's now found my template. Use that column from my mark book as my effort grade, and the data is synced across. Again, as we saw earlier in the registration system, we don't automatically overwrite data if it already exists. So it would tell us if we've already entered grades into the report system, and then it will allow us to mix and match and choose which grades we want to keep. As well as the mark book module, we're going to then want to write reports for these children. But before we do that, we're probably going to want to check on that child's profile to see what they've been up to. The pupil profile is an academic and pastoral view of a child's record. We've purposely split the student record into two areas of admin and now academic and pastoral. Again, a very, very flexible search system. Anywhere I type within the system, it automatically filters to make my search criteria very, very simple and quick. I can always find people by their names. I can filter by gender. I can look at applicants and former pupils. I can filter across the school structure, by year, by form, by house, my pastoral database, teaching groups, custom groups, former pupils, or just my tutees. On selecting the child, it gives me their core profile, photos with history, access to timetables and teaching groups, a notes and comments section where I can again record any information in my own note types. Quick links on the right hand side will show me their registration information, the attendance, defaulting to the current term, but live showing me attendance data in a colour-coded format forever. What activity groups does David belong to? Currently, what has he signed up for? Is he overcommitting himself? What has he done historically? The teaching groups he belongs to, the pupils in those groups with him, set changes for the year, set changes forever. All data is recorded. Learning support profile, individual learning plans, reports, information on what David's learning requirements are, a discipline record, this month, this term, forever, rewards, sanctions, assessments, reports, exam information, all contained in one single module. As we've seen here, iSAMS will allow us to multitask even though we're within a browser-based environment. It works just like a client application. I can write reports and have my pupil profile open at the same time. The report system, again, is effectively a blank shell when we receive it. Everything is customized by the individual schools using the system, but in a very simple way directly through the front end. The starting point is that we will create our own templates of the data that we want to capture from staff. We produce templates for mid-term grade cards, end-of-term reports. We can produce templates for pastoral tutor comments, activities, year tutors, the head teacher, student comments to offer self-assessment via our pupil portal. We create a template. We choose how much information the person writing the report will see about the child. Can they view the current report, the previous report? And then we add grades, results, positions, and comments. If the template requires a grade, what is the grade called? What are the grading options? Can be anything that you like. What are the grade descriptors? What do they mean? What is it that I'm giving this child? Is the grade required? Do I have to enter an effort grade? If I don't enter one and I click save, what's the error message I'm going to see? The options can be shown as a radio list or a drop down. We can set grading limits so we can't all get an A. We can be a little bit lazy and say everyone starts with a B and then the teacher only needs to change it if it's different. We can then add another grade and another one and keep going. The same for results, a test score, a mock mark. Do we need positions across the group, a rank order? And then any comments that we want to add to the system. Again, as many comments as we like, maybe targets, achievements and actions with either advice and the amount we need to type or enforced minimum and maximum lengths. Again, is the comment required? We add that comment and then we add another one. Curriculum statements, what the pupils have been studied this term, we type it once, it propagates onto all of the reports. A full proofreading workflow, your own hierarchical structure of who's going to proofread which reports and when they can see them. We create our templates once and use them again and again year after year, but we can edit templates to make changes. We can copy a template if it's similar to one I need to create. We create our reporting cycles, the time frame of which reports are being written. We allocate our templates to the cycle to determine who's going to do what. A template can be applied to the whole school. It can be applied by year group, by subject, and by form. The ability to add exclusions. So very quickly we can apply a rule that maybe PE don't have to write reports this term, or where I've applied a standard subject assessment template, I can add an exclusion of except German because the German template's unique, and then add a new allocation of the German template at the subject level. We can then check and see what staff members are doing. So we have the ability to find out which reports are missing, a color-coded based system to show us how much teachers have done so far, the ability to look at a full statistics report to give us data on who has to write the most reports, who's wrote the least, who did theirs the earliest in the morning or latest at night, a breakdown by day, by hour of all of the reports that are being written, full control over everything that's happening. Teachers will then write their reports in one of these two modules, which are the only ones that they're going to see. A teacher wouldn't need to choose who they are, but we do have this view as other feature for administrators where you can log in as somebody else. The online assessment system we're looking at here is designed for a midterm grade card, quick assessment data capture. It's telling me I have subject reports to write. It's showing me the subjects I teach and how much I've got to do. I choose the subject. It shows me my groups, my sets and my forms. I choose the group, and now I've got my example template. The pupils highlights who's on the SEM register with quick access to that data. I don't need to go somewhere else to find it. I choose the drop-down grades, although I can tab through. If I haven't typed enough, if there's a restriction, the comment is red. When I've typed enough, it changes colour. Again, if I go over, it changes colour. I can fully configure the size of these text boxes. I've made this test comment box that size because it takes 100 characters almost perfectly. I can get access into historical grading information, previous report preview. iSAMS knows I'm writing biology reports for Janet, so there's all of Janet's previous biology reports. I could have included a previous grading summary as an option. There's a spell checker. Designed around very, very quick data entry, but fully customizable to you. The reports wizard system, again you can call the module whatever you like, is designed more towards an end of term report. The workflow is very similar. We choose the subjects, we choose the subject, we choose the group, but at this stage, rather than getting the template straight away, I get a list of the pupils, again with my controls of viewing the current or previous reports. I click on the child's name, the template's delivered in a separate window. I now have save and close, save and back, save and next to work my way through my reports. We now have a template per child. I choose my grades, my test scores, I write my comments. Controls to view information on the pupils, photos, historical data is available. I can make the font size bigger if I can't see it very well. I can expand the text boxes if it hasn't been configured to give me enough room. As a proofreader, I can have access into Janet's other reports. Your workflow might be that this is a year tutor comment. The year tutor is going to proofread the subject reports before making their comments. If I've been given edit control, I can change Sydney's report directly. Or we have a flagging system where we can change the status of a report. Andy Kemp has marked that this maths report is complete, it's colour-coded as green, but I don't like it. I can send it back as ready for checking or back to a draft status. I'm going to tell Andy it's too repetitive or it doesn't make any sense. On saving that report, that information is emailed to him. When he logs back into the system, in his individual progress, he's now going to see he has a red report. When he clicks on Janet's report to write it again, it will give him a pop-up message of that same communication as to why I want him to change it. Very, very flexible and customizable reporting system. We're focusing here purely on what we call the writing template, what the staff member sees within iSAMS. The printing templates are then fully customizable, very, very flexible, professional looking outputs. As well as including all this grading information that we're capturing, we can include percentage attendance, number of rewards, sanctions, exam marks, exam grades. We choose that output template, which can literally be in any format that you choose, and then we link it to the cycle to capture the data. We choose our printing filters, how do we want the reports to be ordered, and then finally the format. To save costs and printing, as a publishing routine, we generate a schedule to publish the reports online. We notify the parents when the report's been published. They log in and they download the exact same PDF copy that we would have sent to them in the post. Now, with all of this information that we're capturing on the children in the report system, in our mark book module, in our exams module, we need to analyze that data. Therefore, we have a tracking management system. The tracking management system will allow us to draw in all of our grades, results, positions, and comments from the online assessment and reports wizard module. It will allow us access to any data within a mark book, any data within the exams manager, or the internal exams module. It also allows us to import external data, CEM baseline testing data, MIGIS, ALICE, YELIS, or anything that we hold within a spreadsheet can be imported and used against all of this other information. Again, as you would expect now, fully customizable. We're not building in a standard platform for you to use. Everything is customized to your own exacting needs. Each school will determine, or this could be managed at a group level, the style and design. How do you want your grades, results, positions, and comments to be styled, the color coding options that you want to use. The sorting and ordering logic, so when we reorder the columns of data, they go in the order that we want to view the information in. Grade set objects allowing us to manage calculations, assigning numerical values to alpha characters, the ability to flip a numerical value into a comment, transposing objects allowing us to turn any value into something else. So very quickly, once we draw in our data from our assessment system, we can turn it into something else. We can flip an alpha character into a numerical value, work out an average, turn it back into a grade or maybe into a comment. Again, completely customizable, and full assistance is offered in creating this into the system. We then create our tracking folders, which will usually be year group and subject specific, to which we apply permissions. Who can view this information? Within the folders, we then create our tracking models, either individual pupil tracking models or full cohort models. We create a model, and then iSAMS will walk us through the process. It insists that we obviously choose some pupils. Is it a year? Is it set? Is it a form? Is it a house? Or a combination of those? Once we get the pupils back, we then have to add information about them, a characteristic element. Do we want photos, medical information? What fields of pupil data do we want to be included so that we can reorder and sort and filter against? We then add our dataset information. We're simply telling iSAMS where the data is held. It's in the reports module, a mark book, exams system, or external data, and we can draw through combinations of these. If we're analysing the latest set of grades, it's in the report system. I can choose an individual cycle or multiple years worth of data. Control and shift click. Is it for one subject or all subjects? What data do I want? Grades, results, positions, comments. We pull the data through into these columns, all obviously with your own naming conventions. We then apply our styling guides, our sorting ordering logic. We can duplicate the columns. We can turn the columns into pie charts, line graphs, bar charts to see individual pupil progress. These charts obviously continue to grow the more data that we pull through. Within our calculation here, we're looking at an ALICE predicted grade that's been pulled in from a spreadsheet with a style applied, the current performance in the autumn half term from the reports module, autumn term end and summer term end. The calculation shows us that the child's above or below their predicted grade and by how much. All the columns can be reordered. We show progress within a cell, these tri-state graphs and line graphs. The data can be copied to a clipboard, Excel, or simply printed out. Teachers will be logging into these models. They might be looking at a full cohort of a year group. Once the model is loaded, they're then going to want to filter it for their pupils. Again, we can filter for pupil-specific data across the pastoral structure, the school structure. We can go and find my set. Standard calculations of min, max, average, median, standard deviation can be applied. Individual pupil tracking models, looking for a fuller picture of all of the subjects that a pupil was taking. and then how they're performing. Now we're going to want to start charging the parents, the pupils' contacts, for all of these things that we're doing for them. iSAMS has a billing module. Designed as a plugin architecture to allow you to link into any third-party accounting solution, iSAMS' primary focus is in regards to producing an end-of-term bill with the tuition fees and the extras. Designed to be extremely flexible in the way that charges can be applied. The starting point is for us to import from your account system your nominal structure, a mirror image of your account system in regards to the different cost centres, departments and codes, the fees that are charged, the disbursements, the discounts that are available, all linking back directly into your account system. A number of different ways that we can assign charges, a fee allocations rule section where we create a rule as to which fees apply to which pupils. So a senior school tuition fee will only apply to pupils in the senior school. Maybe it's a senior school boarding fee. Apply it to the boarders as well. At the beginning of each termly, or however often you're creating your billing cycles, we look at the pupils within the database and we apply the fee based on where the child sits within the system. Very, very flexible to configure, and it also means that when the pupils move from one year group into another where a new fee may apply, iSAMS will automatically know. There's no manual process to go through and apply a new charge onto a pupil's record. As well as being able to use that rule system, we have the ability to apply a charge to just an individual pupil at a time. So I'm looking at David's current bill, broken down by the fees, the extras, any exams that he's being charged for, any deposits that are coming off. A simple assign charge button where I have a quick search option to find one charge, or I have a multiple entry where I can control click and assign David one of those, and a bursary discount. It pulls through the default amounts, the descriptions which can be edited. I can set these charges as recurring. I can apply a charge to recur on every single bill until I tell it to stop, or I have the ability to set a start term and an end term. Only apply this charge for 3 terms and then it will automatically be removed. I also have the ability to apply charges en masse, a batch pupil view, where I can filter by house, by form, by year group, custom groups that have been created anywhere throughout the system, either my own custom groups or custom groups that somebody else has created, maybe a school trip. It will allow me to find the pupils quickly. I can select them all, and then in the same way I can assign a charge, an individual one or a multiple one, en masse. We also have the ability to import from a spreadsheet. I can browse the system from my spreadsheet. It will view the data that it's found. At this stage, it isn't bringing anything into the system. It's telling me that it's found a spreadsheet with a page of charges for David Abrahams and his haircuts. It's also found a second spreadsheet where there's errors. I now have the ability to open my spreadsheet and find out what those issues are. The first sheet that it's found, it's happy with. The second sheet with the issues, I can see that the account code has been called short code. The amount column has been spelt incorrectly. Even though it isn't aligned correctly on the page, it's found it. We don't need the pupil name, although obviously that would usually be present. I refer back to the account system, to the fees billing module. I link the amount column to amount to tie those two together. I then link the charge code column to short code. Now with my nice green tick, I'm able to preview both the first sheet and the second sheet. Once I'm happy with those charges coming through, I now import my spreadsheet. A full breakdown to all the imports that have ever come through are available. I can produce these in a Word document format so I can see all the different batches of imports that are coming through. Back to the child's record. We have the ability to add notes to the record to record information about the bill payer or the child. We have the ability to view who are the billing contacts for this child, who is it that is responsible for the whole bill or parts of the bill, and how are they going to pay. We managed a direct debit system as well. Split bill rules. What are the relationships? Do we have circumstances where maybe mum and dad share the bill or grandparents help out? We can assign a rule to either all charges, or we can break it down individually by fees, disbursements, exams and deposits, either with fixed amounts or percentages. So we can create a routine where mum and dad equally pay 50% of all of the charges, but then as a one-off rule, we've got the ability to say that mum's mum and dad, the grandparents, are just going to pay, as a sub-rule, £1,000 towards her 50%. iSAMS will immediately know how many bills it needs to generate. We have the ability to check on the charges within the system, so a breakdown of what's being charged within this cycle, who the charges have been applied to, an editable view if we need to make changes, a full view of all the different batches that are being created. We then generate our invoices. We run through a prerequisites check where we ensure that everybody has an account code and a billing code. We check that the split bill rules match up 100%, so we aren't going to have any portions of the bill missing. We link into an account system to check the information between the two databases is synced. We can then preview our invoices. The actual format of the bill, again, is just a custom report that can be in any format that you choose with relevant notes applied. We produce our invoices, we print them out, or we publish them online to our portal, and on completion of the billing cycle, we transfer the information into our account system. All of this information is then made available directly via our portals for both students and for pupils. We create a portal that's linked directly to your website. There won't be any mention of iSAMS anywhere. It's your portal. The branding and styling are matched to your own website. The parents will log in and get information on what's going on around the school, news stories that are relevant being fed directly through to them, as well as bulletin entries, calendar information, the latest documents that have been uploaded. You can create your own document structure and upload any document that you like within the system so parents get all the information they need via the portal. We can create electronic forms, interactive forms for feedback, for parental consent maybe, a customizable form that are applied only to the parents to which it's going to be relevant, radio lists, check boxes, dates and times and any comments that we need the parents to fill out. Full control over communications. Can they view their contact information and edit that data? What email and text message subscriptions are they interested in receiving information in the school about? Calendars, news, bulletins, photo galleries. A full profile of the child. Timetables, teaching groups, attendance, discipline, exam entries, timetables, results, and reports available online. If we have more than one child per family, the ability to change from one child to another, one account for all of the children within the family. Fully customizable again, but you're not doing anything within the website. You don't need to be technical in order to manage the parent portal. It's just another module within iSAMS. Even down to creating the initial homepage that is shown. We create it within the MIS, we save it, it becomes available. We then manage the features that we want to show. How much information are we going to show about school? Show the parents about themselves. What are we going to show them about their children? This is where we create our forms. This is where we upload our content and create our document structure. We turn a feature on, but then we have further controls around how much information is shown. We can then choose to send automatic communication so we can tell a parent when something new is happening. Are we going to allow them to opt in or opt out of receiving that information? Broken down for something like the rewards and conduct module, looking at individual categories that we want to be displayed. Pupil portal works in an extremely similar way, feeding the child information on what they're doing, their timetables, their reports, exam information, but also the ability for people to self-assess. Outside of all of this information where we've been focusing almost entirely on the pupil, we have an HR module where we can record information on staff members, very similar to the pupil record. A search facility, we choose the staff member. We then have a record of their contact information, their family details, a health record. Enrollment information, we record information for applicant staff, current and former. Their associations across the school, contact information within school, roles and responsibilities, an academic profile, all of their qualifications, census information, an area for recording notes, absence management, communication history, development and appraisal, what courses they've been on, again fully customizable, additional qualifications, when they're due for renewal, all of which can be reported on. We can upload documents and files. If necessary, we can record financial information, details on probation and security. Have references been acquired? Have they been checked? Do we have CRB checks for them? Across our boarding schools, do they have school accommodation? Can they drive the minibus? We've also got modules for managing school news, calendar that we haven't really looked at within here, recording incidents and accidents against the child's profile. A medical module, so a module for the school nurse to run, completely locked down, but sharing only relevant information to other areas of the system. We get a breakdown of the child's record, any conditions that they might suffer from, recording full details on the onset, the action, the treatment that should be taken, where you're creating and adding your own condition types into the system. We can record dental information, vaccinations, what vaccinations have been given, the dates that boosters are required, again reporting on this information. We can also record children's weight and produce body mass indexing graphs and charts. Any medical notes if they have had accidents, information on visits to the medical centre. Again, we can upload documents and files, record parental consent, an individual pupil diary, so we can record when they visited the medical centre, why, what the problem was and what information was given. We can immediately start to view, for any regular visitors, is there a pattern of when they're turning up, if they're always arriving on the same day and at the same time. I can see that the child that I've picked has only ever been 4 times, so he's not a regular visitor, but it would be highlighted for me previously when he's turned up. Some of the other things that we can cover are where the product is moving to. It's been a general overview of the main kind of base points. Within the next 6 to 12 months, we'll start to see a change in this general interface. We are moving to more of a dashboard look and feel, looking at business intelligence software to be tagged directly into the front end, delivering information that's relevant to the user. Maybe as a head of year, producing information on the registration system, number of incidents in the rewards and conduct system, fully customizable graphs and charts, or data, comments, information on pupils that are relevant to you, information and screens for heads of department or the admissions team, teachers, governors. This is where the product is moving to. As well as I touched on very briefly with the mobile applications that we have, again, we see a future where a staff member, a teacher, will be able to carry out all of these tasks within a mobile, edit information for reports within Markbooks, a full MIS available within a mobile device is where the product's going. I hope that's been a thorough overview and has covered all the base points of the system. Thank you very much for your time.